Hello everybody, Tyrone the Guy 3 here. The Tournament of Power Saga, or Survival Tournament Arc, or whatever you want to call it. It's the 5th season in Dragon Ball Super, and it's the final season in Dragon Ball Super, at least for now, since we have no confirmation whether or not Dragon Ball Super is coming back. But Dragon Ball Super has come to a close for now, and this was the 5th saga that they ended on. And obviously, since this is a saga, I have to do a saga review on it. So, Dragon Ball Super, the Tournament of Power. Well, this is honestly one of the longest sagas in Dragon Ball Super, obviously, and this was probably what Dragon Ball Super was leading up to, although you wouldn't really tell from the other sagas that preceded it. Dragon Ball Super's Tournament of Power saga actually had a lot of promise to me in the very beginning, to be perfectly honest. It had a lot of promise for a lot of people. I mean, when this saga started, the opening changed, not just within the visuals, but the audio as well. A completely different song, some new soundtracks for us to bump our heads to. The art style changed a lot too as well. Gone were just the simple drawings of Goku, Vegeta, and the others. Now we've got more detailed drawings of them with darker outlines and more brighter colors that are used very well to show off each of their, of their skin tones and clothing a lot differently. It was actually looking to be a very good saga. Even in the beginning, if you were to break the Tournament of Power up, it would be in different little sections because it's such a long saga. It's literally a 1 year long saga. And I would call the first part the Recruitment Saga, basically where Goku recruits all the people that are going to be on his team for Universe 7. And the Recruitment Saga's biggest highlights were like developing the characters, Krillin wants to join the tournament, although it's usually based off a lie that Goku gives. But when he does, it's not that simple. Gohan feels that Krillin shouldn't be able to join because Krillin's just not that powerful. But Krillin obviously shows that he knows how to handle himself in a tournament fighting situation, and where the rules are that if you get a ring out, you lose. And I really like that. It really fleshes out Krillin's character, and it fleshes out the other characters and shows that, hey, if these characters are used correctly, then they can actually adapt and defeat warriors that are much tougher than themselves if the rule is whoever gets knocked out is the loser of the tournament. I think it's a very interesting concept that they played around with. But the execution was done very sloppishly. And this is where we started to run into our problems. When Goku actually took the time to have character development with each of the other characters, and the story focused on these characters before just starting the tournament, I thought this was good in the sense that these characters desperately need this development anyway, especially since you're going to have a tournament with so many warriors competing all at once, and Goku needs a team of like 10 people. The issue we run into, though, is that Dragon Ball Super had spent literally 4 other sagas not focusing on these characters. So when you finally bring them all in at once on the 5th saga, you got a lot of development makeup to do that the other 4 sagas just neglected to do, which definitely was a shot in the foot to Dragon Ball Super's half, because while you were recruiting these characters, we ran into issues of power scaling. We ran into issues where characters just completely were not strong at all, but now they are strong because they were training off screen. And several other issues you run into like that. Or just characters that were completely neglected for long amounts of time. So once they're brought back, we really don't know what their character was like anymore because we don't know their emotions, development, and adaptability to other characters. For example, Android 17 is the biggest one. He's the big highlight. He's the big reveal for the saga that got a lot of people hyped because we haven't seen Android 17 active since the Cell saga. I mean, yeah, he was made in a cameo in the Majin Buu saga by forcing people to raise their hands for the Spirit Bomb, but he didn't actively fight until his fight with Imperfect Cell, which he lost. So 17 didn't really make that big of a dent in Dragon Ball Z in the first place, so it kind of felt to me that when they brought him back, it was just sort of a desperate move in order to show off, hey, look, we have a character that was gone for such a long time, and now he's back, and he's as strong as Goku in one of his most powerful forms. Obviously, people had a lot of problem with Goku using Super Saiyan Blue against Krillin, and some people make the argument he was holding back, which I gotta say, if Goku at normal state in Super Saiyan has just as much power as he did when he fought off against Beerus, a god of destruction, then I see no reason why they shouldn't just have Goku turn Super Saiyan 1. Like, yes, Beerus was holding back when he fought against Goku, but as we obviously seen, Beerus didn't use any effort to fight Super Saiyan 3 Goku before Goku had access to God Ki. Then after Goku had access to God Ki, he was able to hold his own against Beerus in Super Saiyan 1. Yeah, granted it was a held back Beerus, but he still held his own. So if Goku wanted to lift Krillin's spirits, all he really had to do was just be a Super Saiyan. See, this is the problem you run into. You made Goku and Vegeta so much stronger than the others by accessing God Ki that the other characters are complete fodder. Now, if you want me to compare this to Dragon Ball Z, there were moments in Dragon Ball Z like Krillin, Yamcha, and Tien training with Kami to fight off against the Saiyans, or when Tien, Piccolo, Krillin, and the Tien, Piccolo, Chaozu, and the Yamcha went to King Kai's planet and they trained there. Were those scenes necessary? Absolutely not. But those scenes made the world much more fleshed out and gave reason as to why these characters are as strong as they are. Saying that they trained off screen or got stronger off screen is a pitiful and shortcut excuse to let the characters in and be as strong as they could have been during earlier sagas. It just felt to me like this whole Tournament of Power had a lot of premise, but it signed a check that it couldn't cash by cutting corners with character development. This is why character development is so important, especially in a series that has to do with mostly just fighting. If this is an action anime, this is a shonen anime that involves a lot of brawls, so you need to make your characters matter, otherwise you just got them all fighting each other with no real rules or boundaries. Now, before I move further into the saga, I will talk a little bit about power scaling. Now, yes, I do believe in anime where it's possible that a weaker character can beat a stronger character if the weaker character can have a strategic way to come at defeating the strong character or exploit a weakness that the stronger character has. Hell, Shikamaru from Naruto is one of my favorite characters because he's proof that this is possible. But power scaling still is important because it shows us as the audience members how things are supposed to make sense. How can a character who's been not fighting for years suddenly stand up to a fighter that literally they fought last saga? That's the only way things like that is going to make sense, is if they show like some progression, some development, some justification, even a Deus Ex Machina like the hyperbolic time chamber, for them to get stronger within a short amount of time to give them the strength needed in order to fight off against various adversaries. But it seems to me that what they decided to do was clump in a bunch of characters and make them not live up to their expectations. You got Gohan, who got a lot of build-up, several episodes of build-up, but didn't live up to his expectations. All he really did was do a full Nelson on Dispo and get knocked out, with Frieza knocking Dispo and Gohan out at the same time, which was very underwhelming considering there was a lot of build-up for this character. Then all you got for Krillin is he learned a new move, the Solar Flare times 100, but he used it against a fighter that was blind, so he became completely useless as well. Then you've got other characters. Tien, he was absolutely no use at all, and the only main victory he got some victories, but the only main victory he had to sacrifice himself in order to obtain that victory, which is a poor use of Tien Shinhan character. This is the same character that was able to keep Semi-Perfect Cell at bay for several minutes, giving 18 and 16 time to escape from Cell. But sadly, they just underutilized him in a way that is completely just hard to even fathom. You got Piccolo, who was barely used and only was around to guide Gohan and hold his hand until he lost to a freaking bug. Yes, I'm not kidding. This is what happens to all of the characters in this saga. And then I want to go ahead and talk about the recruitment. Obviously, all of these characters were placed on here because they are characters that we all know and love from the Dragon Ball series. But the problem is, since there's no development in them, they just sort of are lacking. The other characters include Majin Buu, who ended up getting axed in favor of Golden Frieza. Why? Because Golden Frieza sells more toys than Fat Buu. Which is really sad to see that a series... This is a franchise I've grown up with and have loved for so long, And I have to sit and watch it become just a target of nothing but pure marketing. That's one of the main problems I've had with Dragon Ball Super this whole time. But once the recruiting is all finished, they finally go to the tournament, and I'm just going to go through this time to just go through the highlights and not the main things in the tournament. Obviously, when the tournament starts, Frieza and Frost work together for a brief amount of time, only to get so Frost can get tricked by Frieza. It causes a lot of problems, like with the thing with Master Roshi. Master Roshi knocks out like a crap ton of people, but the justification for that is that he used strategic fighting rather than powerful fighting, which is something I believe that should have been done for all characters. And honestly, I don't think Master Roshi should have been the one to do this. I think Yamcha would have been a better suit because, one, Yamcha, to me, is just more memorable than Master Roshi. Master Roshi made the statement that he retired from fighting a long time ago. Yamcha, at least, is viable, and he wanted to actively be on the team. And I feel there's some comic stuff that they could have done with Yamcha, and not in the sense of making fun of him. Dragon Ball Super seems to realize that Yamcha's the butt end of the jokes. Where Dragon Ball Z, Yamcha just ended up in bad situations where he was the butt end of the joke. Dragon Ball Super openly makes fun of him as being the butt end of joke, and that's what causes things to fall apart. It's not as funny when the joke is forced. A forced joke is never funny. So, moving on though, when we had other characters get knocked out, we had Goku fight off against Jiren for the first time so that he can show off his Ultra Instinct Part 1 transformation. And then he ends up fighting off against Kale and Khalifa. Obviously, Kale and Khalifa are just Super Saiyans with titties. That was their only real, purpose in the show. And I believe that that's a poor use of a character. It's just to have the character on because, hey, look, they're Saiyan characters with tits. They brought nothing other than a bunch of transformations that were brought and fusion for Goku to turn Ultra Instinct in order to beat, even though earlier we saw that Goku at Super Saiyan Blue couldn't beat just Kale by herself. But later in the tournament, Kale masters the form and can't beat Goku at Super Saiyan God Red. Okay, that doesn't make any damn sense. But moving on after that, Goku does what I'll admit is a really cool Kamehameha on Kefla. But then after that, nothing really happens for real except for Universe 2 lasts a lot longer than it should. I kind of like Ribrianne though because she's the only fighter in this tournament I felt that showed more personality than just, oh, look, I'm a weakling that's fighting off against Universe 7. Or, oh, look, I am super strong and I'm fighting Universe 7. So I actually liked Ribrianne. I like the fact that she's a parody of Sailor Moon. And I thought she had a lot of personality to her. A lot of people don't really like her because of the whole she's annoying type of situation. And she just won't get knocked out. I liked her because she brought some life to this damn thing. And it wasn't just this bleak, brownish, gray, green area that they were fighting in for over a year. Moving on, obviously, all of the unimportant universes get knocked out, and literally it's every universe versus Universe 7, and it boils down to Universe 7 versus Universe 11, and Jiren, the most blandest, blandy cardboard box bland of characters, the blandness, fights off against Goku so that Goku can use his Ultra Instinct. Vegeta gains a new transformation and recreates 2 scenes from Dragon Ball Z. He does the one with the Majin Buu scene where he does the final explosion attack. Only this time he gets to live because, fuck it, why not? And then the other one is where he uses the final flash against Jiren in the similar manner that he used against Cell in Dragon Ball Z, because they just really love that scene. And rather than make a cool, iconic final flash scene of themselves, they decided to just go ahead and rip off the scene from Cell Saga. Okay, fine. And Vegeta gains Super Saiyan Royal Blue. I know it's called something else, but I'm calling it Royal Blue because that's the exact color that his hair is, and he's a prince. It makes sense. Goku goes Ultra Instinct Part 2, Ultra Instinct Boogaloo or whatever, which is the gray hair form, while everybody else just sort of either A, gets knocked out, or B, is ambiguously hiding in rocks. 17 did a sacrifice shield explosion type of situation, but that's completely spat in our face when we realized that 17 didn't actually die. But isn't that what self-destruct means? I think they were just trying to pull at our heartstrings because it's a lot more easy to market something and make it more appealing towards us if it hits us emotionally, but it was a false emotion because 17 wasn't really dead and it was only for a few episodes. And if you look at it, the way that they did time, which I really don't know why there was a time system in this tournament, 17 was killed for all of 1 minute. Yeah. Really underwhelming when you take it that way. So after that, exhausted of all of their power-ups, Goku and Frieza fight off against Jiren with very low stamina, and they both just sort of charge punch Jiren out, and Jiren and Goku and Frieza all get eliminated, with 17 being the only one in the Tournament of Power by following the rules of the Tournament of Power, and that's, you know, surviving in the survival arc. He survived. And he does his wish where he wishes that all the universes are brought back. And 18 says, what I believe is the dumbest thing in the world. But didn't you want a boat? You guys are friends with Bulma. A boat can happen within seconds. But whatever. So that's basically the entire saga in a nutshell. And I gotta say, I'm not impressed. Other than the fight with Goku versus Jiren and debatably a little bit of the fight with Goku versus Kefla, all the fights here are either A, very underwhelming, or B, don't develop any of these characters whatsoever. You made an entire tournament that has 80 characters in it, and you barely do anything with any of the characters. And it's so upsetting to see a saga do this. It's such a waste of character development, and honestly, I believe this was just a year wasted in characters that got nothing out of this except for Goku and Vegeta. And then Goku loses the transformation, and 17 doesn't really die from his self-destruction. So the only person who really got anything out of this was Frieza, because he gets to be brought back to life, and he's just alive now, and it's dumb. It's really dumb. Because now you just have a looming threat over planet Earth. And I guess Frieza's now he's reverted to what I like to call Saturday morning villain. He will show up every other week, try to destroy Goku and the others, and then he'll lose and he'll be like, I'll get you again next time, monkeys, I swear I will. And Goku will be like, we'll be waiting, Frieza. It's stupid. It's a poor use of what was otherwise good potential to make Frieza like have his own little arc where he overthrows the gods, I guess is what they were planning to do with him. But I can definitely see that a lot of things came down to crunch time and the fact that Dragon Ball Super was ending because the series is not good. One of the things that I get upset about Dragon Ball Super for doing is not only ruining its character development, but telling a bad story. You see, I'll admit, Dragon Ball Z is my favorite anime, but even I can admit that Dragon Ball Z isn't the best at storytelling. I can admit that. It doesn't have the greatest story. It doesn't have the Death Note of stories. But at least Dragon Ball Z has the decency to have characters that were developed enough to make it so that whatever situation you put them in makes for a better story. The problem here is that Dragon Ball Super completely ignores both factors, character and story. And this tournament was the biggest example of that. Characters are brought in the story for literally no reason. Characters are brought in the story just simply because they're popular. Characters' gimmicks are literally brought into the story because they're popular, or rehashes of what old movies and episodes of Dragon Ball Z did. Literally, it's just a callback to, hey, did you like Dragon Ball Z? Or here's a bunch of stuff that we think that you may like because Dragon Ball Z did all of these things at one point. None of the characters feel inspired. None of the characters made me feel like I gave a crap about them. And all of these characters had very cheap gimmicks or just bland personalities like Jiren, who crapped together a backstory that literally was a ripoff of every anime cliche tragic secondary character that existed. Dragon Ball Super's Tournament of Power saga is just that. It's bland. It's all flair and no substance. I hate to end it on that note, but I feel like criticism is important because it gives us the ability to look at something with a critical view and make improvements in the future. But with that said, I will still be making Dragon Ball Super related videos, and I will be tackling this a little bit more in the future. So with that said, I'll see you all then, everybody. Tyrone the God 3 out.